Can the session be done without presentation? I guess so, but I guess we can, yeah, sorry about that. Not able to share my slide, but yeah, let's talk about this without the slide. So thank you for joining the session of how to become a front-end developer. So just a little bit disclaimer about this is just my personal opinions and not about my employers. First, a little bit about me. I'm a principal software engineer at Workday. Before that, I was at a house canary, which is a real estate analytic company. And then before that, I worked at Cisco and IBM. And during my career, I have been focusing on front-end web development. So I have a bachelor degree in software engineer from San Jose State University. And my Twitter is Ying_Zuo. I'm very active in Twitter, so please follow me. I think that should be on my profile as well. And also my LinkedIn, please connect with me. So to start with talking about front-end developer, let's talk about all the available engineering roles exist in an organization. So other than front-end development, there will be mobile developers if you have a native app solutions. So then there will be a team for that. And then also is backend developer who will be making building the API and also the database. And some developers will be working full stack, meaning that they will do both the front end and the back end. And then site reliability engineer who will be working with the engineers to deploy the applications and to build up the IT infrastructure. And then last but not least is quality assurance engineer. They will be testing the product in different environments. And so why front-end development? So obviously you have been using the web, so you have seen a lot of web pages already. And on the other hand, it's very fun to build the web application as well. And I'm passionate about building web application, thinking how the user will be using my product and also is testing as well. So you'll be thinking for the user and try to make it delightful experience for them. And it's good career outlook. I think all of the tech companies, they usually have front-end developer openings all the time. And during this COVID situation, that a lot of tech companies, they actually started encouraging people to work from home from the beginning. So there's a lot of flexibility to work from anywhere, and I would expect a lot more remote openings open up in the future after this, because it's been proven that most of the communication and development have been happening online already. So this didn't introduce any disruption for us during this time. And so if you want to be a front-end developer, here's a list of things that you need to know. I'm sorry that you cannot see it. But first is HTML is the building block of a web page. So that's for your content. So what kind of text that you want to put in there, maybe some images as well. And if there's buttons or the link, that would be on the HTML page. That would be the HTML. And then on the page, you will see just the content without the styling. And then the styling is the next layer, is the second block is for the styling, the custom styling that you will be putting on. So after the CSS, the page will look a lot better. And also that's for the responsive design as well. So it will show up differently on different screens. And then the last layer is the JavaScript. JavaScript is the scripting language and is the primary front-end language, I think some people may think that Python can do front end as well, but JavaScript is the main one. So it's important to know. And JavaScript does the user interaction, meaning if the user click the navigation or a button or something that they're doing on the web page. So that's JavaScript. And also it's important to know the major JavaScript frameworks and libraries. So right now there are 3, which are the primary, the most popular ones are React, Vue, and Angular. So React is my favorite framework. So it's component-based library. So if you look at a page, there will be a lot of components on the page, and then some of them are reusable, like the cards, the multiple cards, then each one is reusing the same component. Also, Vue is a similar library as well, but it's a smaller library because it's only responsible for the Vue side. And then the last one is Angular. So the first version is called Angular.js, and I used that before. And then starting from the second version is called Angular. So right now, there are many versions already. So Angular is like the biggest JavaScript framework that it provides you everything out of the box. So some people will choose that so that they don't need to worry about what do I use for the routing and other stuff. So the next thing you need to know is responsive design. I kind of mentioned that when I talk about CSS. So right now, the users are using multiple devices, and each device, they will have multiple screen sizes. Just like if you're using the phone, you put it up or horizontally. So that's already 2 screen sizes. So it's very important to make your web page work on multiple screen sizes. So a common way to do that is using the media query. So it's the @ media with the breakpoints. And then there are 2 major development approaches. One is desktop, and then the other one is mobile first, meaning the base style. If you have the base style for the minimum screen size, then that will be the mobile first. And you will set the minimum width with increasing minimum width. Then that will override the smaller screen size styling. And also to check out the Flexbox and the grid. So those are the 2 new CSS features that you can use for the layout. Okay, the next thing is cross-browser compatibility. So because there's so many browsers out there, Chrome and Firefox are the major one, and also Safari if you're using Mac. There are also a lot of other browsers that I have that on the list, but yeah, but it's important for the front-end developers to check the cross-browser compatibility before using, especially the new features like the grid. The grid is not fully supported by IE, so to check that, each product will specify the list of supported browsers. So you need to check if you need to support older versions of IE. Most company will support the latest version of IE, which is 11. But Microsoft already deprecated IE and switched to Edge. And so that's great, and hopefully more user will migrate to using Edge. Edge is a Chrome-based browser, so there will be less surprising things happen. So yeah, so caniuse.com is a good website to check the browser compatibility. And then the next thing is debugging. So debugging is very important because as you code, you will run into some unexpected behaviors. And then you will need to look into to identify what the issues are. And debugging tool for front-end developer is the browser developer, tools, which you can find under the setting, and then usually it's under tools. You can pick this, your favorite browser. For me, it's Chrome. And then inside there, you will see developer tools listed. And then you can inspect the element, and you can see the paddings, the size of the element. And so sometimes when you code, it's different from what is rendered. So it's very important to master how to use developer tools efficiently. And then the next thing is the HTTP requests and APIs. So although you're working on the front end only, but it's important to know some API concepts as well, because then, for example, the arrows, you will need to handle it differently for, and also the API, the data that you're getting back. So there are two main actions between the client and servers, which is fetching the data to display, and then also sending back the data to the server to update. For example, if I have just Evernote, I don't know how many of you use Evernote. So basically, it's like a note, keeping your note. When you open up a note, then you will write down some content there. So when you open up the node that you already have, then the UI will first go to fetch the data from the server, and then to show that on the node, on the page. And then if you change the content of the node, then the UI will send the data back to the server. And yeah, sorry about that. I just take a look at the check, and it doesn't see the slide because I'm not able to share it here. I think there's some setting in my laptop that I should have figured that out. Sorry about that, but please let me know. I will put my contact information at the end, so I can send you the slide. Okay, so we just talked about the interaction between the client and the server. With the client and UI is interchangeable. Sometimes I call it UI, sometimes client. So it's getting data and then sending data back to update. And then next time the user opens up the node, they will see the updated data even before. Well, they should see the updated data already since they're updating it. But next time they open the app, they should see the data that's there. And then also a few basic concepts like JSON is JavaScript object notation. So it looks like an object, but the keys are surrounded by the double quote. So the good things about JSON is that when the UI gets that data, you can use that as an object, and object is very high performance, so you can just look up with the key. And so that's a very common format to get the data and send the data back to the server. And then a few HTTP methods. There are quite a few, but the 4 that you need to know are get, post, put, and delete. Get is the method when you try to fetch the data and just read only, to display only. And then the post is to create a new item, like creating a new node. And then put is to update, and delete is to delete the resource, like the node. And then static code, there are 200. 200 is like, okay, everything's good. I'm giving you the data back. And there's 300 range is a range. So there is very specific, like 200, 201, and 300, and 400, and 403. So 404 is like a very well-known arrow. It's page not found, everybody knows. And 403 and 401 is permission related. So the UI will need to know how to handle them, either by showing a page that says permission denial or something you don't have the permission to access this page. And then 500 range is for some unexpected errors. So yeah, so just those things that is good to know, and it helps the communication between the communication with the backend developer as well. And then the next thing is testing. Well, we just talked about the error code. So speaking of errors, then testing is very important. So I believe that a good developer is also a good tester. So there's three main kinds of testing. Unit test, which is the one that you will be adding when you're coding. So it's important to keep the code the testing coverage up, because then when you're checking code, you know that you're not breaking other things, and also adding tests to make sure that it won't be broken later. So then, so that's the unit test. It's just testing the code, testing the function that you're writing. It's just testing a small specific functions. And then the next one is the integration test. Integration test is between the services. So usually between two services. So you see the interception is, if it's working, the interaction is not broken and it's getting data from other servers. And then the top one is the system test. It's the whole system that it can even across multiple products. The whole system, it should work well. And a common framework to do that is Selenium. Then it goes through the UI and then to test. And then it will make an API call to multiple services to make sure the whole flow works. So those are the 7 points, seven fundamental aspects of front-end developers needs to know. But those are just the beginning. So you have to keep learning, and also technology has been changing so quickly. It's like, I think every day that there's a new NPM package created, more than one, I'm pretty sure. But for front-end, it's changing very fast as well. A lot of libraries coming up. It's good to know, and keep it updated. And also, no matter how long you have been working in this field, every day you just find something new to learn. So the next thing is to find, the next big topic that I'm going to talk about is finding a job. So education is important. So it's preferable to have a college degree in STEM. But I have met a lot of developers that they are very good developers as well. They are self-taught and they have degrees or in other fields, or no, but they learn it online and maybe with study groups. And so there are some online resources like Coursera. It's a very popular online class platform. It works with a lot of universities to put the classes available online. There are some classes that there are audit options that you can take for free, and then and if you want a certificate, then you can upgrade the account, and then you will get the certificate after you complete the class. And also the edx.org is a similar website, provide online classes. And then another platform is Udemy. So Udemy is a platform for anyone who wants to post a class. Anyone can create a class. You can create a class too. So it's important to see check out the background of the instructor, to see the experience that he or she has, and also the content. I think you can find a lot more topic on Udemy. And for development, it's good because then you get a varieties of options, different applications that you can try out, and then you can always find something on Udemy. And The other platform is FreeCodeCamp. They have some tutorials online on the website. Some groups use the tutorial, like the one that I'm mentoring right now. Is that so it's following the tutorial for JavaScript, and also they have data structure algorithm. The good thing about using FreeCodeCamp is that you don't need any development setup. You can just code. They have online code editor that you can just code. And then the last one is MDN. So MDN is my favorite reference site. A lot of things that if I need to look up for the details of that, I will check out MDN. And the next one is experience. How do you get experience to be a front-end developer? Actually, not just front-end developer. I guess overall for all the engineering developer position, I think it's always good to have internship. So especially toward the end of your degree, I mean, if you are in school, I have an internship. I think in the last summer during school, and then I got a job offer like at the end of the internship. So the last semester I can just focus on studying and get my degree. And also it's very easy to convert to a full-time position because people know you, that you have learned a lot during the internship as well. And also the next thing is open source project. There are lots of open source projects on GitHub. And also, especially right now, there are lots of charities projects that you can volunteer for. They need developers, and so there are varieties of skills, no matter what languages that you know, then you can help out, volunteer, and that you will get a lot of experience from that. And if none of those work, you can have your own projects on GitHub. Some of the companies, they will ask for your GitHub profile to see the code. So you can you have more flexibility about the tech stack, what you want to use, what application you want to build. You can try out the latest library, the framework, the most popular one, and then to build up your own project. And check in on GitHub. And then for the job posting, the next big topic is interview preparation. So after you learn all the things that, to choose a career path, you will choose a language that you will learn for front-end. The building blocks are HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. So after you learn, then you will think about preparing for interview. So the first thing is job posting. This is something that you can do right now. I will highly encourage you to check out the job posting online, especially for those that you want to work on, the companies and maybe the local companies that you want to work at. Then check out the job posting online. And I think the other good thing is that after you check out the job posting, you will know that what are the things that you need to learn. That's more targeted, and usually they will have very general ideas about, things that you need to know. And I think usually for front end, they will put JavaScript. Sometimes they will put the framework because that's the framework that the team is using. Then would be good that if you have experience using that framework. But like I mentioned, the three main framework: React, Vue, and Angular. And there are other frameworks used by other projects too, depending on when the project was started. So then they will pick up different framework. But that's okay. I mean, even if you haven't used that framework before, but you really want to work on this project, the good news is that during interview, they usually won't ask the framework-specific questions. They will ask you JavaScript, the fundamental things like and data structure. Oh yeah, something that they mentioned is for the degrees in STEM, you will learn the computer science, the fundamental topics like data structure, algorithms, some math, actually quite lots of math class. And then, but the data structure and the algorithm and the logical thinking, you learn that by practicing, taking different classes. But those things you can learn by yourself by taking classes as well. So, and then after you check out the posting, and then you got a good ideas about what they're looking for, update your resume, because right now, actually, a lot of companies are using machine learning to scan the resume even before the recruiters see your resume. So it's important to put the keyword on the resume. Talk about your experience, what you have learned, what you have done in that position, and what technology you have used. That will be important to mention. And the next thing is LinkedIn profile. So LinkedIn profile is your online branding. So definitely keep that updated. And also it's a place for networking as well. People will reach out to you on LinkedIn. And so, yeah, and then the next thing is interview process. The interview process is the standard for all developers, not just front-end developer. So first you will, after you apply, and then you will hear back from the recruiter if they want to interview you. They will try to get some basic information about you and maybe verify some basic information about you. And then they will give you some information about the position in the company and just like the basic information exchange. And then after that, you will either talk to the hiring manager. Sometimes they put that discussion at the end of the interview after they bring you on site. But sometimes that they will have you to talk to the hiring manager first, and then to see if you fit the role. But do expect that if it's not the first interview, it will be the second interview, that you will have a coding exercise. Sometimes they send out coding exercise for you to work at home and then turn that in as well. Sometimes they will have a developer to give to do the coding online with you. So it's some website that they can share the code. They can see the code that you're typing in, and then to a platform to do the coding exercise. So depending on the levels that you are applying for the basic, the entry level, that they will be just some easy questions like to see if you know the language well, like JavaScript, how do you create an object, and then how do you sort it, and those basic things. And then as you get to the next level, there will be more and more like algorithm focused questions like sorting and searching and that type. And also the product design, how do you design that product? And so, yeah, and then they will bring you on site usually. I guess right now most people are working virtually. So now it's a special time, but most of the time they will bring you on site, meaning that you will go to the office and then you will talk to the people there, and then they will ask you the questions and you will do the coding, either whiteboard or mostly whiteboard, because that's good about being in the office is there's whiteboard. And so that would be the last step of, well, sometimes they have 2 on-site interviews, but yeah, after that, they will let you know that if you pass the interview or not. And then last but not least, keep practicing, because each time that you go into interview is a opportunity for you to practice, to go through the whole flow, because just now I'm talking about the whole flow, you may be, okay, what's what? And but when you go in and then you go through the process, and it becomes easier, that even the beginning, how to introduce yourself. And also think about the questions that they ask you. You may be surprised that maybe sometime you get asked in the next company, especially those data structure questions, that the basic data structures comes up very often. And yeah, I went through very quickly without the slides. Sorry again for that. And when I'm open up for Q&A, and I will keep check. Now I'm checking on the chat to see any questions. So I'm seeing some questions about the framework. Yeah, so as I mentioned, that my favorite framework is React, and but it's very controversial. So don't get into a fight with which one is the best. But I think it's based on the team as well. Usually when you go into a team, they already have a framework there. So it's not really a choice, although you can, when you apply for a job, you will see they usually put that on the job posting, what framework that they're using. And I think it's good to try out a few framework. And I think the first JavaScript framework that I use is called Dojo Web Toolkit. That was many years ago at IBM. And I don't know if you even heard of that. I don't see that often now. It doesn't come up. It's a framework that I think it was used by IBM mostly. Well, that's another thing about the good things about open source, because then if the framework that you're using is open source, then it's likely that you will find other company that's using this open source library as well. And also, although they are different, so like Angular is MVC framework, and React is component-based library. Well, library and framework is confusing, but you can put them aside first. I think it's mostly based on the founder, if they call it library or framework. There's a definition about framework, is that the framework will be calling your code, versus library will be something that you can call to get. So that's the technical difference between them. But basically, you will use the main framework or library to bootstrap the project. Okay, another question is WordPress versus HTML, CSS, JavaScript. What's the future? WordPress is a content management system. So you will post content. I have a blog as well. So I use WordPress for that, because for blogging, you need to keep track of versioning. And that's the content management system. That's what it does. So for WordPress, it's easy for you to post blogs, your posting, and HTML, CSS, JavaScript is for web application. So it's different. It's not just content management. It does a lot of other stuff. So that's what the companies are building. If you just want a simple web page or a blog website, then WordPress is easier to use, because you just need to put content in it. Oh, so what was the name that you mentioned to see the site works on different desktop? So I did mention the website is called caniuse.com. Is to check if the feature is available for that browser. So for cross-browser testing, you can use that one. So cross-browser testing is more like a system test. So you will use Selenium for the testing on different browser. You will spin up the instance with different browser to test that. And you can also use the browser stack, which is a pretty popular framework to test if how your app look like on different devices. Oh yeah, someone already answered that. Caniuse.com is to check the features. Testing library front-end developer will use. Yeah, so testing libraries depends on what types of testing. I mentioned three types. One is unit test, and then integration test, and then system test. So unit test is based on Jest. Jest is a very common testing library. It's used by quite a few framework. So you will write call the function that you're testing, and then you will compare if that's the expected output. And for system tests, I mentioned is usually Selenium. Because Selenium works on IE as well, and lots of products need to support IE. And actually, there are quite a few new JavaScript testing framework, like I think Cypress is another one. And there's another one is IO driver, something like that. But you need to check what types of browsers that it supports and if that's what you need. Yeah. Are there any courses that you would recommend? I would think depends on what you want to learn. Definitely check out the instructor's background to for that. And I mean, for the same topic, a lot of people can talk about that in different ways. And I think a good instructor would be someone that can explain some very complex topics in easy way. But the Coursera I mentioned, that's pretty good. Especially you can get a certificate. I think it's nice to get a certificate. It's motivated. Udemy Bootcamp. Oh, I didn't know Udemy does bootcamps. I only know that they have classes. Oh, iOS mobile development. I don't know. I work on the web, so sorry. Volunteers front end. Yeah, I did volunteering in a charity organization as well. And can you start with a low level of knowledge? Yes, sometimes they will, because you're a beginner, they will give you some simpler tasks like HTML, CSS. So how can I find volunteering projects? So there are lots of charities right now starting because of this COVID-19. And there are some website that you can just search for charity projects and something volunteering projects. And I used to volunteer at this company called a charity organization called Great Nonprofit. They connect the nonprofit organization with the people so they can contribute and volunteer. Which technology you're using for front end? I'm using React as the primary library, and Redux is for the state management, and then GraphQL is the API, and Jest is the testing library. And I also using Sass. So I mentioned CSS. Sass is the preprocessor for CSS. So usually you won't, I guess sometimes you still need write the vanilla CSS, I think. But I think most of the projects right now are using either Sass or less. What do I think of Angular framework? Okay, I only used the version 1, so I like React more. I haven't used the later versions of Angular, so yeah, that. Oh, example of questions that would be asked during the interview, definitely check out Glassdoor.com because they have a lot of questions there for the companies. Yeah, so it's good to practice those as well. Outside normal interview questions, what kind of question is good to prepare for? So it's those fundamental questions. That's what I mean. As you go into interview more, you will get more experience. You know, usually they will ask data structure and how to manipulate object and array, which is the list. How to display it. Yeah. That's the beginning level. I mean, later on, it's going to get to more algorithm questions, like how do you use different kinds of sorts, which one, the big O notation for each one. Yeah. Would you recommend doing a MS in CS to become front-end developer or self-teaching? I only have a bachelor degree, so I don't have a master degree. I think for front-end developer, experience is more important. I think in school it's nice that you go into the topic very deep. You write a lot of papers, but I think experience is very important. How do you stay consistent in early phase of front-end development? I think just keep myself updated to check out. I'm very active on Twitter, so please follow me on Twitter. I tweet quite a lot, and also my LinkedIn is right there. Oh, the formatting is wrong. Is JavaScript enough for web development, or should I go to learn Python? So Python is another language that I like a lot. That was the time that I was a full stack for a while. I used both JavaScript and Python. So you can use Python for front end as well, but Python is mostly used for backend. If you want to get into the machine learning, Python is definitely the language for that. So it will help if you know Python. So if you're interested, yeah, Python is great. I love Python other than JavaScript. Front-end developer versus full stack developer, which is more demand. I think for startups, they actually want people to work on multiple areas, like because they don't have that many people in the company. So they would prefer you to know the whole stack so you can work on the full stack. For medium or larger company, they will have more focused front-end and back-end developers. So if you say which one is more demand, of course, if you know more, it's going to help. But I think if I prefer to stay in front-end, although I was full stack for a while, but if I have a choice, I always go back to do my front-end path. And I think it's good to go deeper in one field. And then you will, of course, go broader in other areas as well. Like later on, you will learn cloud computing, which is more for DevOps, the site reliability engineer. And then you may want to look into machine learning, which is not just front end. So there are lots of areas to explore. And well, I think I'm over the time. But thank you for staying with me, and sorry again for not being able to share my screen. Please connect with me, and I'm happy to send my slide. Thank you. Bye.